Hey everyone, we're in a sort of a little different atmosphere now. We're currently over Zoom, not in our usual studio, but we have another great episode today, I would say so. I'm excited for this one. Now, Tara,
Yeah,
how have you been doing lately?
I'm doing well. I'm always keeping very busy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Did you do an episode while I was gone?
I did not. We were gonna
Oh,
do kind of an interactive reaction video episode, but we're still improving the technical system, so that's gonna have to come later. But
okay. We're gonna continue. We may do that soon, hopefully. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
That's cool. Okay, well, I'm so glad. I'm so glad to be back and doing another episode. We have a great young man here by the name of Echo Mike. You might be able to search him up on like YouTube, Instagram. I'm not sure what other platforms you're on, but I kind of want to leave your intro to yourself. So why don't you just introduce yourself to our audience?
My name's Echo Mike. That's on YouTube mostly, and then Instagram as well, Echo Mike Training. You guys can call me Mike, but best way to describe it is I'm originally from the UK. I live in America now, and I started the YouTube channel mostly doing my hobbies, interests, and my lessons learned. And part of those lessons learned is almost showing a positive light on what I would call healthy masculinity.
Mm,
Really, it's just masculinity, but we'll call it healthy masculinity today. And showing kind of young men the guide ropes as I myself am learning them, kind of from an aspect of, again, those outdoor practical skills that I think men are told they shouldn't do.
mm.
But I, to the contrary, think that young men should do them. So yeah, that includes actual skills and then chats and philosophy and other things that might be on my mind that week.
Very cool. So I kind of wanted to know what sort of prompted you to do the YouTube?
Yeah, so I always actually enjoyed making videos. I've always been pretty creative. And it was one of those, we're living in very unprecedented times. And any time throughout history that you're living in the moment, you could argue is the most important time. But it kind of came down to, it was one of those things that you're only going to be young for so long. I truly believe that if you're going to do something, you should go out there and do it. Who cares if you look stupid? Who cares if you haven't got thousands of dollars of equipment? I love doing this stuff. I plan to have a family and kids. These are things that I want to teach my children. And in my career field, things can happen. And to have a database where someone that cares about me can go is also important. And quite frankly, I didn't really expect anyone to watch them, but they seem to be doing quite well. And on top of that would also be, and this is where more of the chats and philosophy come in, but we do live in very interesting times, and it was kind of a matter of, you know what, if no one else is going to do it, be the change that you want to be, as cliche as that sounds, and kind of I'd say lead from the front.
Wow. That's a pretty I think that's a really great goal to have. And I think that's sort of what we're kind of doing ourselves in our own ways. So that's really cool to hear. But I kind of wanted to know, was there something that inspired you to live the lifestyle that you're currently living?
Personal excellence and not letting down my future family.
Hmm.
And that sounds really strange because yeah, I'm always doing it for a reason that doesn't quite exist yet.
Hmm.
But people have this idea that when they get the job, they get the girl, they get the daughter, they'll become an amazing leader, significant other, or father or mother. But the truth is that that starts far before those things happen. Um, in my career, as we talked about, my career as a pilot, we practice for emergencies that probably will never happen, but we do them in case when they do happen, we're ready. And I think that there's an important thing for life about that. And, when it comes to my fitness and doing the lifestyle that I do, I'm doing it because, well, I want to be healthy. I want to live a long time. I want to be ready, capable, able, intelligent, and be a provider and a protector for not only myself now, but my future family. And luckily, as a young man, I also find those things really cool. So it's not like I'm sitting here hating to do these things. My friends often make fun of me. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I eat very healthily, and they're like, "Oh, you." Well, the phrase that they use is they like to raw dog. Is that I like to raw dog reality because I don't use any drugs, I don't do anything, but I find it fun. I find it it's not a struggle almost. It's not like I wake up every day. I'm like, oh, I've got to do this routine now. No, it's very much almost who I am at this point. So
Hmm.
if that answers your question.
Yes, that does. Now, I want to know, did your parents inspire, like, were they a big part in this sort of thinking? Was there a certain person that you would call a mentor?
Not inherently.
Okay.
My parents and I are actually very polar opposites, but I think that in and of itself can have an effect on who you become. It's that old adage of, there's an alcoholic father, one son becomes an alcoholic, the other one never touches alcohol, right? So I think you either become like your parents or you don't. Um, yeah, they really don't. I mean, my parents kind of almost live an opposite lifestyle to me, I would say. And that is honestly one reason that does, I guess, would motivate me was I was brought up in certain conditions that I don't want my kids to experience. So that importance of not going through that and, again, changing that family tree, being the best you can be for your future is where that comes from. Now, as I got older, I got mentors through my career, through other families and friends that I would see. But initially, in a very immediate family sense, I would say the opposite.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. I mean, oftentimes we do hear the saying that there's a cycle and somebody has to be the one to break it, right? And I think that's something that's very important, especially if you want to change yourself and not repeat the same mistakes over again. But I think that parents are a great way to learn what not to do, but also things that you should do. So that's really
right.
good. Now you did mention you did get some mentors, I guess, along the way through work and other people. Um, would you encourage other young men to be finding mentors?
I think it's essential. I think it's the make or break.
Mm,
Um, and that's something that I try to instill on my channel is mentorship. Um, it's not only necessary, it is essential. I think that mentorship, I mean, I'm not a big believer in college, just from my
okay.
personal experiences. And part of the reason that is if you want to be a lawyer, you go to a law office, find someone to mentor you, work as a clerk for 5 years, learn all the ins and outs, go take the bar, and that law firm's going to hire you because you have amazing mentors. Now, again, we obviously there are other educational aspects to that, but take the same for an engineer, a doctor. Um, the old saying, "Not who you know, it's not what you know, but who you know," I think
Yeah.
is very true. Obviously, for some professions, that's not the case. You do need certifications, but if you don't have someone to mentor and guide you, you're going down a pipeline that is almost pre-written or expected, and that's when you can be taken advantage of. I think that's one of the reasons why college is so expensive in this country, is because we have this pipeline of high school, college, job. Well, where's because when you get to your job, what happens? Your supervisor mentors you, so why not kind of forgo everything and then go right to the mentorship? For me, it made me who I am. It definitely put me in the position that I am today, is having those amazing mentors. You just make less mistakes. It's one thing to watch a video, read a book, but to actually have someone that can check in on you and send you that text, hey, are you showing up today? Or introduce you to the right people. All my mentors, and don't think that when I say, I very much mean mentorship, I do not mean a handout, and people get confused. But someone coming to you and saying, here's, my mentors always said to me, here's an opportunity, here's the handshake, everything else is on you. So, yeah, I absolutely think mentorships, and I've had some amazing ones. And I very much plan to pass forward what was given to me, those opportunities and introductions. So,
I
Well,
I just wanted
yeah.
to go back quickly to when you were first describing masculinity, you had said healthy masculinity or just masculinity, right? Can you elaborate on that?
Oh man. Are you ready for a 30-minute digression?
Oh, we can go on through this topic. Yes.
So we all know the phrase toxic masculinity, and I hate it. I really hate it because I think masculinity is inherently something that is part of us as humanity, and we need it in society. And the fact that we have even considered or gotten to the point that we are now labeling it as toxic is just really, I mean, it's really upsetting. It's really sad, and it's also it speaks to just how far we've progressed as a society, to the point that essentially the state and the government is doing those traditional roles of masculinity. And what I mean by that is the traditional roles of masculinity are protect, provide, and preside. So protect, provide resources, and lead or give some sort of guidance to what to do. Well, we have police and law enforcement and the law, so protection's out the door essentially. Providing, you can go on state welfare and have everything given to you. And then leading, well, I think the apparatuses such as social media, our phones, television media almost lead us in a sort of Orwellian way, if you like. So the traditional roles of a man in the household has kind of been stripped away. So the idea of toxic masculinity is, and why I say healthy masculinity, is because it's almost it's almost like a countercultural argument to get people's attention. What I really mean is just masculinity, but we've gone to a point where we think that everything to do with masculinity is inherent. Like, you hear the word and there's almost this negative connotation given to it. So, when I say healthy, go.
I was just gonna say, like, what are specific examples that you notice when someone says toxic masculinity?
Oh yeah, of course. So the biggest one is violence, right? It's that men, and again, I gotta be careful with my language here because words are important. There's this idea that men are inherently violent, and that toxic masculinity encompasses this innate need for men to destroy, be that wreck something down or hurt someone else. And that's the biggest one when it comes to toxic masculinity, is that men are going to destroy everything, and if left unchecked, we need to drug them, sedate them, put them down, make sure that they can't get access to any sort of weapons, make sure that we can't, that basically disarm men in every single way, physically, emotionally. So, along another thing is taking charge of everything. This idea that a man needs to be in charge is somehow toxic, or this idea that a man has to lead, or why are all of our business owners male, or why are they, there's this idea that because the traits that make these men are where they are inherently negative, and the biggest one being the physical aspect. I think because it's the most obvious to kind of understand. Yeah, so I mean, those are definitely a few that are labeled with it.
And also, just in relevancy to the current climate, where it's the presidency is between a man who's been very prominent with, his position to be a leader and taking on that responsibility. He had that responsibility. And then the woman, Kamala, who would be a very cultural shift for the United States to actually have a woman lead, So it's interesting to hear you that to lead is an innate trait of masculinity, and it's a healthy trait. So that was interesting. Thank you.
And
No,
we
you're
do
welcome.
have currently, the last couple of years we've had these men come up, like men like Andrew Tate. And those ones are usually, I've seen some guys gravitate towards him, and I've seen others not. I want to know your opinion on that. Is that would that be necessarily, I guess, called toxic masculinity, or is that just something else?
I would not use the word toxic masculinity, but I do not think it is real masculinity. It is not. And Andrew, yeah, again, we like to go to extremes. We like to use the example of Donald Trump, Kamala, or Andrew Tate, and it's very easy to point out extremes. But I often like to talk to like the normal person and kind of ground everyone. Andrew Tate has made a living off of being a personality, so he's going to always hype up and exaggerate who he is as a person. But the traits that the shirtless, doesn't care about what anyone thinks of him, woman on each shoulder, this whole idea, that is not masculine. That's not masculine. That's not healthy, to use the term. It's not healthy masculinity. I think where Andrew Tate floats is a very interesting position between a boy and a man. And I think that transition for men is very important. And he floats somewhere in between because he's doing all the male stuff, but he's not leading a family. He's not really building anything. He's not helping him. He's not. He is, but he's not, because it's his very. I think he floats in between. I think he's an interesting character.
It's like he's not acting like a father.
Yes, exactly. Like if he did that for a few years and then he came and then he's like, okay, guys, I've got an amazing wife, a family, we're going to build a business, we're going to change lives. What I did with those women was wrong. Hey, guys, there's a time and place for it when you're young. But he doesn't seem to have made that transition. So
Interesting. So you're talking about the transition between man and boy. What does that transition look like?
Man, another big one. So I can't speak for women because I'm not a woman.
Right.
A controversial thing to say these days, but nonetheless. We all know 30-year-old boys, and we all know 16-year-old men. I think that's the simplest way to put it. I stayed with some friends in England, and they had some Ukrainian refugees and this was just when the war started. And with them was a mother and a daughter, and I was talking to them both. And they were telling me stories of 15, 16-year-old men fighting off Russians in Kiev with their fathers. And their fathers died, and they've got to be the head of the household, or they're going off to fight. And I know people here who live at home who are 40 years old, and they work part-time jobs every 6 months. And so there's a transition that happens, and I think it's crucial to a healthy society. If you look in history, every society has had this almost ceremonial transition between a boy and a man. And what it's really saying is, hey, listen, you've been raised, mentored, loved. You've been given the resources by our tribe or group. Now it's your turn to go out, fight the dragon. I like to use the phrase, slay the dragon, win the girl, right? But so it's society saying, now it's your time to do these things. And when society says that, a guy has to go out on a quest. Well, that means getting a job, finding purpose. And when men find purpose and start to build things, that's when they really find themselves and they become good partners. And then when they build stuff, they want to build family. So that that entire transition, let's call it from 18 years old in the United States, 18 years old till married with a family, those college years almost, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
There's a transition that needs to happen. Men need to go through something hard. And if they don't go through something hard, if they don't have responsibility, if they don't find themselves spiritually, morally, and do all the other things that pertain to masculinity, that's when they become angry, resentful, toxic, destructive. And sadly, that transition is becoming harder in the modern world because of what I spoke about earlier, which was the state apparatus of the government has essentially taken away the man's need to go out and do those things. There's less motivation for a man to go out and become a provider and become a protector and become physically strong. So to wrap up that point, there is a transition that happens, and men can make it at any point, but the older we get, the harder it becomes. And when they make that transition from boy to man, of bearing all that responsibility, again, becoming that leader, provider, and protector, that's that transition that has to happen with men. It has to,
Now,
otherwise we get, yep.
no, I don't mean to cut you off, but I am wondering, um, does the way you're raised affect like that transition? Because I've seen this personally where sometimes the mothers do sort of
Mhm.
shelter their sons and emasculate them. So do you believe that 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 is maybe another part to why we're not seeing that transition from man to or from boy to
Mhm.
man?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fantastic point. So here's the catchphrase for you that I love to use, that I came up with, and I'd like to use a bit more. Toxic motherhood. There's this idea that a mother can only be loving, but I think that, as you just stated, there comes to a point where love becomes damaging. And there is a moment, and a lot of mothers describe this, when their sons no longer want to be cuddled, they want to go out and play in the mud with dad. So I absolutely think and agree with you that there is a point where, if that mother doesn't let their son go, like, let him go out, get drunk, make mistakes, get his heart broken, start a business, however big or small that might be. Let him go out and lift weights in the gym. Let him go out and hang out with the boys. Let him do those things. Don't protect him, because if you always know that you have something to come back to, you're never gonna, have that push off that precipice to grow. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
wanted to speak on a little bit on the feminine side of this,
Mhm.
concept of healthy masculinity. So I
Yeah.
really believe that, you know, to be a wife, because you can be a wife at any age. I mean, some women, they finally become like that wife material when they're 30. Some women
Mhm.
are like ready to be a
Yeah.
wife right when they're 18. Like, so
Mhm.
there's another side of that too, which is, you had said the man slays the dragon and wins the girl. So,
Mhm.
yeah, naturally, the woman is pretty detrimental to the man's maturing. But right now, because, you said about general people, your average person, rather than these big extreme figures, I've noticed that the average girl um, is is actually practicing more traits of toxic femininity. And it actually very much mimics kind of how you described a toxic mother. For example, I got married when I was 19. My husband, he was, it was like he was a boy some days and a man some other days. And then we had a daughter, and um, it was very overwhelming for me in those early days of marriage. I mean, probably for years it was very stressful because my husband would go out. He would drink with his friends. He would make those mistakes at his job and then get in trouble at work. And it was like I was kind of on the other end of that, kind of just
Mhm.
experiencing the consequences of that. And it was very hard to resist the temptation to do this to him, to correct him, to say, you shouldn't be
Mhm.
doing that. You shouldn't be doing this. And you need to be doing X, Y, and Z for me and our daughter. Like, this is, you're out of line. Like, but that is the same traits that you were talking about for toxic motherhood. And
Fantastic.
yeah,
Well, I mean, congratulations on being a wife and a mother. That's
thank you.
amazing. Give yourself a pat on the back, a huge one. There you go. Oh, it's amazing and it's beautiful. And yeah, it's really interesting that you say that, because it's what you're describing sounds like you're teetering on a line of becoming, like, it was kind of I don't know if this is how it felt, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it was that precipice of, am I going to become his mother now, or is he going to step up and become a man?
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing too, because and this is the hard part, I believe, of being a wife, and being a mother, is the patience, the resilience you have to have for God to uh turn the man, the boy in your life into a man, figuratively, obviously, but it's like, but it's like, so, and the more I did that, and I reached out to resources at my church a lot, which helped me with this and helped me learn this. So like you said, you need mentors, you need people who are older than you, who are doing what you want to be doing successfully, and you have to trust them, you have to listen to them, and you have to lean on God. And there were some times when I just wanted to tear my hair out. I felt like I was going crazy, but I continued to persevere, and I'm glad I did, because I'm still married and I have a healthy marriage now.
Congratulations.
And my husband did grow, like he did make those leaps. And because I was outsourcing to like my church and stuff for that emotional support, for that area to vent and to try and figure out what to do, I was very patient. I did not bother my husband. I did not nag him. I was just very kind to him always, even if I was really frustrated with him. And that's like a miscommunication I feel like women have is, oh, I'm mad at him, I have to like let him know that I'm mad. No, you don't. Like, just look, if he's slipping up, pray for him, be patient, be resilient. And it's like my mom always says, if they leave, like if my husband would have just totally kept messing up and then gone to some other woman, or just, some craziness happened, my mom always said to me, well, get down on your knees and thank God for the people he removes from your life. Because if you behave a certain way, the right man will come. And same with men, and so that man will enter your life, and then he will be able to be gracious to you and be grateful that you you act like a mature wife, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's that, and yeah, so I was patient with my husband, I was kind to him, and before I knew it, it was like the world started disciplining him, and I didn't need to do anything. He would get in enough trouble at work and it would wake him up, like, oh yeah, I should take care of this problem I have. Or he stays out too late with his friends, and just like one time, he often skateboards, right? So one example is he was skating and drinking with his friends. I knew that it was wrong that he was doing it, but it was like, you have to give them time and space to mess up, because first of all, the lesson will stick much harder, but also it's not your lesson to give them. It's their lesson to learn on their own. Anyway, he came home one night and he had the biggest like bump on his face from falling on his face on a skateboard because of his actions.
Yeah.
And when I saw him, I didn't say I told you so. I didn't say, ha ha, you got what you had coming to you. I said, are you okay? Do you need anything? And then he actually said to me that night, I need to be here more with my family. And it was like click. And because he came to that conclusion himself, I didn't have to say anything. He meant that change. It was an honest change. So
yeah,
that's amazing.
Now, I'm actually curious to know as a man's perspective, what do you think femininity is?
Well, first I just want to say I'm glad that he made that, that your husband made that 180 shift.
Me too.
Yeah, good. Men need to realize that on their own, but they need to know that, that they have that. I often like to say that the men are the building blocks of the home, but the woman is the glue and cement that holds it together. And we need to know that we'll come home to that. We can be intelligent, amazing creatures, but we can be dumb sometimes, and men need to get literally hit in the face to understand some lessons. I know I do. I am stubborn. Anyone who knows me is nodding their heads right now. So the fact that you were there, and you obviously dealt with that beautifully. So, and because you let your feminine side just do what it's meant to, be nurturing.
Yeah, and I didn't trust the media's advice to women, which is always like, leave your man. It's always leave your man.
Well, I think you mentioned something very interesting there. You mentioned that women having this, they're embracing toxic femininity. And I think what's happening, and this is something else that I really want to get out there as a message, so please feel free to repeat this, but I really feel that modern feminism and women these days are trying to become the men that they want to attract. And yeah. Right. That's essentially what they're trying to do. They're trying to become the men that they want to. Instead of being the woman that will attract that man, they're trying to become the men that they want to attract. And then they wake up and they're, mid-40s or whatever, and they're like, oh, I want kids and a wonderful home. Oh, I can't do that now because, you guys have a timeline. Men do as well. We definitely do. But you guys unfortunately have that biological timeline, which I think has to do with maturity. And I think men too. I think when I realized, oh, I've got a timeline. Nothing's guaranteed. So
true.
Yeah. You asked, what was your question on the femininity?
Yeah, so I want to know your perspective, or I guess man's perspective on what femininity is.
Oh, what is a woman? The ultimate question. Will I pass the test? Well, first of all, I'll get that one out the way. First of all, you have the biological sex. We all know that. Mm-hmm. There's a man, there's a woman. That is done easy, simple. But going back to just like we have a boy and a man that we discussed about earlier, there's also a girl and a woman. And the boy and the girl have a lot in common, which is why I think the transgender movement targets kids, is because it is, they have yet to become and solidify what it means to be a man or a woman. And that's a very, very horrible movement in my opinion, but very destructive. But so what does it mean to be a woman? I'm just going to be selective with my words here. I mentioned the glue that holds together that house. And, the woman is the heart of a home. She's the emotional side of everything. She's that warm, cozy fire that a man can come home to. She's the building blocks of a family. I'm telling you right now, us as men have no clue how to make somewhere feel warm. We can do it with our boys over a few beers. But here's a good example. Have you ever been to a guy's apartment?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever been to a woman's apartment?
Yeah.
Okay. we will. Yeah. You guys get what I'm saying. And then when a woman moves into a man's domain, or a man moves into a woman's domain, or they share one together, it's that heart and that home. And a woman makes that. And a woman is that caring, nurturing aspect of everything, where dad might say, get up. Mum's going to say, it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
And both are so equally important.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously coming to home comes many, many other things. It's going to sound so cheesy, but, cooking a warm meal. Like, I don't think, like, when a man loves nothing more than to provide. You know what a woman is? They are the chef to the raw ingredients a man provides. A man can only go out and get wood and grocery shopping, but he doesn't know how to build a home, and he doesn't know how to, like, figuratively now, doesn't know how to build a home, and he doesn't know how to cook a meal. And that's what a woman does.
Yeah.
That's actually really well put.
And a man gathers the ingredients, and a woman turns it into that warmness. And I see that with my kids all the time. It's like let's say my son falls. Well, let's say he's crying, right? It's like I can see that and then my husband goes, "Oh, just get up, like that fall was nothing." But he's hysterical, he's crying. And then for me, I know he's crying because he's embarrassed, because there's a lot of people here,
Oh, see,
so
that
I'm
doesn't
able to
register
go
to
up
me.
Yeah, so I can
That
just
didn't
see
even
that.
register when you told that story. I was thinking, oh, he's physically hurt, but you were like, no, he's embarrassed. It's emotional. That's brilliant. It
Yeah, and
didn't even register with me. There's an example.
yeah, exactly. And that happens all the time. That's just
Yeah.
one example. And then with my daughter, it's like everything is emotional. It is crazy. Like it has made me, who I was already pretty sensitive, like even more sensitive. And I think that's kind of where Andrew Tate, someone like him has gaps. Is it's like, yeah, you don't know what it's like to have a little girl though, because they can take just a
Yeah.
little bit of something that's normal to you
Mhm.
and completely internalize it because they are so
Mhm.
sensitive. And then the next thing you know, you can have a very confused young woman, who's
Yeah.
just self-destructive. And no man wants to look at their daughter as a self-destructive female. Did you see that thing about Billy Ray Cyrus calling Miley Cyrus
No,
a
no, I
hoe
don't
or
follow
something?
that.
He
No.
said he said like that devil is in SLUT about
Oh
his own
boy.
daughter. And it's like, no man wants to see his daughter as a young woman living a self-destructive lifestyle, even if she's a pop star.
Right. No, absolutely.
So that changes
Um,
men too. That's a wake-up call.
yeah. No, I really want a daughter. And not a lot of guys say that, but I really want a daughter. Um, I'll get into that, but I do have that thought about the woman. So the final thing that a woman is, they are a woman is the reason that men do and fight for anything. And I don't think that women realize this. When you're a good woman, a man will do anything for you. It is so like you asked the question, what is a woman? A woman is the reason that men are. If that's not a big enough reason, I don't know what is. That with, without a woman, I don't even know what we do. We'd probably just like bang rocks in the forest and not do anything. But not only from a reproductive aspect, but it's a motivation. It's you guys are society. You it's hard to forget in this modern world that we're essentially tribal creatures. Excuse me. But what is a woman? The reason that men do everything, the reason we have something to fight for, something to come home to, the reason we want to build a house, the reason we cut down trees and made, airplanes and connected society, and the reason we go to war, it's for you guys. It's all for you guys. It really is. So yeah, that in short is what a woman is.
Um, that's really good, actually.
Yeah, and I wish
Um,
feminists would realize that. Like, guys, you already have the most powerful position. What are you talking about? Literally
yeah,
take your shirt off and guys will do anything. Like, what is more powerful than that? No, kidding.
that's so true, actually. Yeah. I mean, that's really well said. I don't think a lot of people actually put those two things together.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's something that you also learn, but then um, a lot of people don't understand it.
Mhm.
So that's a really good point, and I really want to know what your opinion, why are these two roles so important to the world around us?
Yeah, yin and yang, 10,000 years old, right? The universe, and this is why I think it is so dangerous, even questioning that a man could be a woman or a woman could be a man or that these roles don't exist because our universe is made up of essentially two things: positive and negative, a one and a zero, a light and a dark, good and an evil, um, God and the devil. It's always two things. There is no third aspect to any of this. And men and women are that yin and yang. They complement each other. All the masculine traits are necessary to support the feminine ones, and the feminine ones are necessary to support the masculine ones. So that's how they complement each other. It goes back to the woman needs a home to make warm, while the man's going to build the home. Now they've got the home, the man and the woman are going to make the child. Well, now the man's got to go out and lead. and be effective and has something to defend and fight for. And now she's got a home and a son or daughter to raise and a community to now build. So it's I mean, we're designed, it is a hard, I think it is such a hard question because it's kind of inherent common sense almost. And I think that's why leftist ideology shocks us so most, because they question the obvious. And I think that's why people have a hard time arguing with it, because when you question something so fundamental, you know, it's like if someone was to question gravity, you know, you'd be like, what? And then you'd be like, okay, fine, you do you then. But you don't understand that if that person's going to jump off a cliff, you need to make them understand gravity exists. Because if they don't, they're going to kill themselves. And that's what leftist ideology is doing to society right now. We're accepting that they think gravity doesn't exist, but it does. And that's only going to lead us to one place.
Yeah. Now I don't know who mentioned it, but somebody mentioned that, probably Tara did, that women are trying to attract a type of man by being what they want.
Yes.
Right. So how does being a man, if you see a woman like that, how is your response gonna be?
If I see a woman that is trying to fulfill masculine roles,
Yes.
honestly, I feel sorry for them. I know a few women like that, and I know women that have been on the precipice and they've actually embraced femininity, and now they're these beautiful, flourishing women. And I know girls that, and I do use the phrase girls, even though they're in their 20s and 30s, because they're not embracing their femininity, which in my opinion means they can't be a woman. You know, if you try to fulfill the masculine roles, you're never truly going to be a woman. Just like if I were to try to fulfill all these feminine roles, I would never be a man. Would you look at me if I was bawling, crying, emotional, you know, spent all day playing with the kids, you know, didn't want to go out and have a job and a career, didn't want to go out and conquer the world, gossiped all day about my friends at work. Okay, so here's the thing. Me even saying that as a guy, you're like, whoa, no, dude, no. But if I were to say the same things as, yeah, she wants to stay at home, she wants to build a family, you'd be like, duh, dude, of course she does. It's inherently built into us, you know. Me applying those roles to me kind of made you cringe, you know. But me saying the same roles but applying it to a woman, you're like, well, of course, that's what you're meant to do. So I think that when you deny those roles, sadly, that you can't become, you know, I'd say a healthy woman and to have healthy femininity. So I feel sorry for women that are doing that, and to women that are thinking that you need to go out there and conquer the world and be a girl boss. Here's what I say to you. You need purpose. You need a career. You need to do what you love. But do not be scared to use your husband to lean up against and cry. Do not be scared to have a man who wants to protect and provide for you. And what I say is go out and have the career. But please, when he just wants to cuddle, when, you know, when he comes home from work, you know, let him know that you want to be provided for and that you like it when he pays, and that you know, encourage his job and his career. So you might have a great career, and if he's working on it, like go and encourage him. Be like, no, go do that. You know, go encourage him. So I'm not saying that women can't have those things. What I'm saying is the healthy version of that to attract a man is to, you know, let that feminine side out. One of the best compliments, if you want to make your man feel good, ladies, here's how you do it. Tell him that he makes you feel safe. That is the best compliment a man can ever get. It's like, you know,
Good to know.
No, I'm serious. You just, if you're there and he has you under his arm or you're cuddling, just say, babe, you make me feel safe. And he's going to melt in your arms.
It did not.
That's nice. I
Yeah.
mean, that's really sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
that is.
you kind of answered my question, which was going to be like, what are some ways that a woman can positively attract
Yeah.
a man, right?
Mhm.
Which I guess you sort of got into that. I'm not sure if you have anything else to add, but I mean, like also referring to like the women and their career, right? I think oftentimes, because I've started this sort of YouTube channel and I've done all these sort of journalistic things, I've been referred to as a girl boss many times. But what people don't understand is that like I picked this purposely. I also love this. I love what I'm doing, but I've also picked it purposely. So when I am a mother, I can do this pretty much anywhere.
Mhm.
And it's a very flexible thing. And that's what I love
Mhm.
about doing all this is that I can do this pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
And so like that's why when women can have that career, but it's also very good to also think ahead and like what you're going to be doing in the future, right?
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
yeah, but I'm not sure if you had any more things to add on how women can attract that man.
I do. So I actually have a list of requirements when it comes to dating.
Wow,
And I sent these to my brother, and I used to be very guarded with them, but I openly share them now because honestly, it's not asking that much, but each one has a very specific purpose behind it.
interesting.
Um,
How many are
I
there?
I can go through them. We'd have to pause it, and I have to just get a screenshot on my phone. I think there's like 8 or 10. But it's what I look for, and it's what I think every man looks for in a healthy woman. You
Hmm.
know, it's not a lot to ask. It's just these criteria that men kind of look for, and um, so I don't know if you want to, we can edit
Yeah,
this part out, but I don't know if you want me to go grab those and go through them, or if you want
Yeah, I think that'd be
I'm
a cool way to
yeah,
wrap up the podcast. Yeah.
to. Okay, awesome. So I'll do is I'll answer the quick question with like things you can do, and then I'll just go through a list of criteria
yeah.
that I look for. Um, yeah. So what can you do to attract a masculine man if you yourself feel like you're a girl boss, or you feel that you know you want to still go out there and conquer the world? Conquer the world with him. That's what I would say. Find a partner because he wants someone to conquer the world with too. And the truth is, it's going to take a long time to conquer the world. So you're better off doing it with someone who you love and that you love and care about.
Very
So
good.
yeah.
That's good. Now, no, that's really good. Did you want to get the screenshots right now, or do you want to
Yeah, let me
go through?
I don't know if this will cancel or not. Uh
It should be fine if you just exit. Like, don't exit the actual thing, but like put it to the side.
um I'm trying to find it. I have a lot of notes. Here we go. Okay. So does that still record my screen if I keep
Yes,
it like that?
good.
Okay. So these are actually really interesting.
Okay, I'm excited to hear these.
All
So
right, you
tell us.
ready? So I call this what I want in a woman, or what I look for, and what I think every young man should look for. And this criteria has come together over many, many years, talking to successful marriages, failed marriages, everything in between. And it's just, again, it's not a make or break, but it's more of a list that I've just compiled of things that have to be done to attract a good. It's things that I'd look for, and all other good men that I've spoken to agree with. So the first one is, and people might think that this contradicts one another, but has a career and is an earner. So there's two things to this. The first one is you have to have a purpose. Um, Women are as different as we are. We want to get our own things. It feels good when we go out and make our own money and we can buy something for ourselves. But having a career and being an earner is also important because money is responsible for 80% of divorces. We live in a modern world where two incomes is almost necessary. Um, So having a woman that has a career is important. And I say career because we need something that we can build and work on. Like what you're doing here, it's your career. It's what you're building, you're working on, you know. And you've got to be able to make money. You know, you've got to be an earner. That's different for different people. So yeah, has a career and is an earner. Especially for, and this is a dating advice for women and dating advice for men. Men, find a career, find your purpose. Don't date before you have, because when you haven't, you're going to look for gaps to fill in that woman, and it's not going to work out. Men are very, I hate to use the phrase toxic, but we are not our best if we don't have a sense of purpose and career. So, find that career, find that purpose in a loose term before you start dating. And woman, date a man who has a career. Next one is in touch with her feminine side. A man wants a woman who is in touch with her feminine side. All the things that we just talked about before. He wants that nurturing, loving, comes home, messes up, and isn't going to be judged, is going to be held and understood. We want to see her play with children, get excited about planning a wedding or having kids or building a home. We want her to come home decorating things and have hair all over the floor. We want those things. We do not want a woman who comes to us and is like, how much money did you make today? Did you go to the gym today? Did you do this? Did you do that? We don't want that, because a man will do those things naturally for a woman that he wants to protect and provide for. So is in touch with her feminine side. Next one is has a base of morals and values to fall back on. And you have to agree on these. The truth is, we don't have all the answers. That may surprise some people. I do not have all the answers. That surprised me when I figured that. I was like, well, I don't. Okay, that's weird. So it's important that you both have a base of morals to fall back on. You're both going to make mistakes. You're both going to have questions. And when things get hard, you're both going to ask questions alone. And it's important that you have the same answer to those questions. For many people, that comes in the form of a shared religion. So I think that's very, very important. Next one is comes from or wants to build a good family. So I don't come from necessarily good family, so this was a personal one for me. So I needed someone who came from a very loving, close family, because I want to build that. I know what I want, but at the end of the day, because I haven't lived it, especially through those early years, for me, being with someone who does come from and wants to build a family is really, really important. So if you want that, that's definitely a criteria. Is she needs to, you either need to come from a very good family, she needs to either come from a good family, or you both have to know what that is and then want to build it. Has gone through some sort of adversity. So this one's important because I think we all have to go through challenges. I talked earlier about a boy becoming a man and slaying the dragon. If a man has not gone through some sort of hardship, something difficult that he's had to overcome, then a woman doesn't know that he can pass that test. And the same goes for a man. Like personally, I want someone who's just gone through something hard, lost a family member or had to fight some sort of, maybe it's like, I don't know, depression or something, or just gone through something difficult, or maybe had to, whatever that thing is, they had to have gone through some sort of adversity. I think that builds character, and it also, when you go through adversity, you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn to trust yourself once you're on the other side of it. Next one is, this one might seem a little bit brash, but I'll say it. Doesn't have a mental disorder and isn't on medication. So we laugh, but through my dating experience, a lot of girls out there are on antidepressants, they're on birth control, they're on this just cocktail of medication. I personally don't want that. if you're a woman who's looking for a good man, I don't care what he says, he doesn't want that. Obviously, we all have things we're dealing with. So again, deal with them together. Yes, medication may be part of that, but I'm talking about like a literal cocktail of medication, right? Because the truth is that those things change who you're attracted to. You know, she might say you love me, but then what if she gets over those things with you and then you're no longer attracted? Birth control is a great example. Birth control messes with girls' hormones. I'm sure you guys are far well better versed in that than I am. So yeah, isn't on any sort of anything like that. Next one is politically agree. So politics is huge. If you don't politically agree, big one for me is firearms. Very, very pro gun. That isn't, you know, I've dated girls and they'd ask me like, babe, would you ever sell your guns? And I look at them like, no. But yeah, but if you had to choose me or the guns, I'm like, the guns. Are you kidding me? That's no, I'm serious. I'm like, it's like that's who I am. I'm not going to change who I fundamentally am. And the reason I use guns is often because that's a political issue also. But politically agree. You know, I'm not going to lie to, you know, be truthful to each other. Don't lie about your expectations. Don't think that person will change your expectations. Now, if they want to understand, you know, firearms and guns and everything, then that's fantastic. Great. Use it as a bonding experience. So, or whatever that thing may be. Next one is has hobbies and interests outside of work and dating. If she doesn't have a project or a hobby or an interest outside of her job and dating, I think she should. And the reason I say that is a man will always build something, and she needs that too. I'm a big believer in he needs his project, you need your project as a woman, and then you need a project you do together. And that's a really good foundation. So her having interests outside of work and dating is an important one. And the last one is has a vision for her future. So she has to have a vision of what she wants. You know, it doesn't have to be super vivid, but she has to relatively know what she wants in her future. Is it a family? Is it, you know, being a mother? Is it simply building a career and becoming wealthy with you? You know, she has to have a vision for the future. So there you have it. What I want in a woman.
Wow. Those are actually, you know, I think that those are all very well thought out. I think that some people will get very offended by that, but I think that there's good reason, especially if you've explained them for quite a few of them. So
I loved
that's very
that one.
interesting.
Yeah, I loved that one that said had something that they overcome, because that is
Yeah.
so true. And then with the one I loved that list. It was very much what my mentors have also said.
Yeah.
And the thing about the hobbies, I've told that to women. I've said to them, you know, they're having relationship problems, and just because I told them this, they didn't listen. It's hard to find people who actually like, you know, actually will take your advice into account. But I've given that advice to women. You know, you're like, yes, it's you and your spouse are doing life together, you know, but your spouse cannot be your main project. They can't be your main focus. You have to have a whole life outside of them, and vice versa. And men kind of do that more naturally. And yeah, that thing of overcoming something. Yeah, because otherwise that man, there's healthy emotional support, but there's also unhealthy emotional support. Like, I need you, I need to validate myself through my wife, or I need to validate myself through my girlfriend, and I can't love myself, and I need this person to fill me up with fuel, but it's artificial fuel, because only God can give us that peace. Only if a man is not in a healthy place, they're going to constantly need that, because, you know, that's the dragon they have to slay. They have to overcome that aspect of their character, because it's like, no, you can't put all that on a woman, because now you're asking not only to put child development, character development, and young children on the woman, but grown man character development on the woman. And it's just it's not healthy. You cannot, that's unfair to put that much on your wife or your girlfriend. So yeah, I really appreciated that list. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah.
Those are really,
You're
yeah,
welcome. You're welcome. I can send that to you guys after
Yeah.
this is done also. Yeah.
yeah.
But did you have any
Really.
questions on anything in that list that stuck out or I didn't explain well?
No.
No, I
No?
think you explained them very well.
Awesome.
Um,
Yeah.
but I did have another question. I
Yeah,
mean,
cool.
looking at the current dating realm, right? We're having a lot of men who aren't willing to take a first step um or to chase a woman, and we're seeing
Yeah.
a big lack in responsibility and men having a fear of having commitments. Why do you think that is, and what would you say are some, like, I guess, remedies or just ways that you can overcome that?
So, a few things to break down there.
Mm-hmm.
The first, what I would start with is if you've listened to this podcast, you've made it this far, there are some things with healthy masculinity. Um, if you do your best to become a masculine man, and um, I've got a list here. I was just shooting a video on that. So I'll run through them quick. Be capable of violence and a protector. Be moral, be a lover, be a builder and a provider, be a mentor, and have something above yourself, and be humble. If you build all that within you as a man, those things that are healthily masculine, you will attract the right woman. So, what do I say to men who are having trouble dating? Take a step back and work on yourself and become the best version of yourself you can, because you will attract that woman. There is no. I did a quick Google search a few days ago of masculinity on YouTube, and half of it was these beta, alpha, sigma things and how to pick up women, and I didn't even entertain watching them. I remember being fed that stuff as a young man, and it's just complete lies. It's not true. Work on yourself, really become a good, capable, moral man who has a career and is a provider and wants to protect. And when you see that beautiful girl, on the beach or walking in the park, not only, honestly, once you do those things, and women are very sensitive to energy, if you go up and talk to her and say anything, you know that you're a good man. She's going to feel that, and it doesn't matter the pickup line. She's going to feel that, and everything else is going to follow. So,
Yeah. You did mention something about having something higher than yourself. What is that?
God, yeah.
Mm.
No,
Okay.
it's we all idolize something. We all have a God.
Yeah.
For some people it's food, social media.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly for young men, so stuff like porn. We
Mm-hmm.
all have something higher than ourselves. It's God. It has to be. Um,
Yeah.
what's higher, you know?
Yeah.
And what I say to people that aren't religious, and I've recently in the last few years only become religious, is maybe you don't have the faith yet, but understand it as just have some sort of use the Bible as a moral framework, if nothing else, and understand that, okay, I may not believe in all the stories, I might not believe in the Lord yet, but I will live my life by this framework. You have to have something above yourself,
Mm.
because when we don't, we make the rules to our own lives, and that is never a good thing.
Mm.
Amen to that. Yeah,
I mean,
that was great.
I think, like, also personally for me, what I've thought about it is when you have morals, sure you can have morals, but who are you accountable to is
Yeah.
really important, because that helps guide your life. Because if you just have morals and then there's no right and wrong, and for me, like, God, on one day I will stand before judgment before God. Am I just doing it just for myself? Because that really isn't going to go far. So having
Yeah.
something that you're accountable to, I would rather someone, is very important.
Yeah.
So you seem to be very happy or looking forward to being a father. So I want to know, what are you looking forward to specifically, that
Oh wow. Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely something that motivates me to think about. Starting a family is hugely, hugely important. Um, some personal reasons I won't get into here, but I essentially see myself as the start of my family.
Mm,
I really do. So I take that responsibility very seriously.
yeah.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to the all of it. I mean, the challenge,
Hmm.
the reward. It's almost, I feel, for it, I feel like it's the ultimate test. I love to challenge and test myself, and I really feel like working as a team with another amazing person um, will be the ultimate test. But it also, we get one life, and to bring life into this world is a an ability that God gave us, and to put it to waste would be such a shame. Um, we're never truly going to think we're ready. We always think we can be better, but I'm yeah just hugely looking forward to it. And then I mean I already get emotional when I think about again I really want a daughter. I just think that's the most rewarding thing. And I've seen when a father has an amazing relationship with a daughter, I think it's the most magical thing in the world. And I mean I already get choked up thinking about me dressing up as Prince Charming for Halloween and her being a princess and um her growing up and obviously a son also. Mentoring a son, doing all the outdoor stuff, and teaching them both to shoot and eventually fly will be something that I really want to do. So, and then doing that with an amazing woman, so seeing them grow, crying together, not getting any sleep together, um, and then sending them off into the world, and then
Hmm.
having your house back as a couple. So, yeah, just all of it, all of it. It is life. It is the life
Hmm.
experience. So I guess you could say, yes, I'm looking forward to being a father, but I'm also looking forward to life.
That's really good. Yeah, that's really good. Um, so another question that I had was, so a lot of people in Gen Z, I think maybe around half of them are still actually in the teenage years. So I want to know what are some steps that they can take to prepare themselves for life.
For men or women.
Hmm. Well, if you could give some broad ones, that's good. But if you want to go specifically, or like specific for each
Okay.
gender, you can, however you'd like.
All right. So in general, have fun. That sounds so cliche, but you're never going to regret having fun. And I don't mean go out, do stupid stuff. I don't mean to the point that it handicaps your future.
Mm.
Don't be afraid to laugh more when you're young. Go out and do that thing that's going to make you uncomfortable with your friends. Step out of your comfort zone because that's how you're going to discover who you are. Discovering who you are when you're young is hard. Don't give in to social pressures.
Mm.
Um, ignore the media, get off your phone, experience the real world, and do it with friends that you care about. And that's going to make you realize what you really want. Because that screen, unless it's content like this, 99% of the time is lying to you. I'm talking about like the doom scrolling,
Hmm.
short form picture content of a perfect world.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, if you're young, surrounded by that stuff, I would just say go outside, touch grass, ground yourself in reality, do something hard, do something new. Don't forget to have fun. If you're young, if you're a boy who wants to become a man, um, don't be afraid to let out that masculine energy. So go and play BB wars with your friends, go do martial arts, go get muddy and bruise up each other. Honestly, get into a few fist fights. All right, like go, just let it out. Just let that energy out. If you're a parent and you've got kids that age, let them fight in your backyard, let them drink in your backyard, let them do those masculine, because listen, they're going to do them anyway. So let it be in your own backyard or your basement where it can be done in a secure, safe way. So yeah, don't suppress the masculinity if you're a young man. Go do a cadet program like a Civil Air Patrol. Go hit the gym, find a mentor in the gym, find like a jacked, healthy old guy, be like, hey, how do I lift these weights? Start looking for those mentors. If there's something you find cool, maybe it's aviation, it's airplanes, go down to the local airport, start meeting people, surround yourself by the things that you find interesting and find good mentors. Just introduce yourself and say hi, and that's how you find mentors. So don't suppress the masculinity if you're a young man, if you're a young woman. Obviously I'm not a young woman, so I can't speak too broadly on this. But what I would say would be when young guys are hitting on you, and I mean like 16, 17, 18, like, very like you're all in high school and things are going on. It takes a lot of courage to hit on a woman. So even if you reject them, tell them like, hey, I really respect that you had the courage to come up to me, and don't embarrass them. If you're a young woman, don't embarrass young men, encourage that courage, because he may have been rejected, but he's going to go, he's going to go become better for it. Find what you enjoy too, do those same things. If you're a young woman, go out, find things that interest you, find mentors, surround yourself by, I would say, good married wives and good married couples. And don't give in to all the social media hype. Here's a bit of advice for young women. Guys hate makeup. Like, don't wear so much makeup. Just be yourself. Don't put so much pressure on how you look. And I remember that being a really big thing for girls when I was growing up. If you want to find your Prince Charming, become a princess. Become someone who's worth living in that castle that he wants to build for you. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know okay. So I've heard though. Okay. So makeup, when it comes to makeup. So you're saying that guys don't like that. But I also, I don't know. I've seen some guys don't know what makeup really looks like. There's sort of stages of how
That's a good point.
people put makeup on. So, I mean, I don't know. We don't have to go through that.
Yeah, I'm just talking about like okay, so here's some context for you. When you get some spare time, or if you're at home watching this, Google like girls night and night out in England, and look at the amount of makeup those girls wear. That's like the image that comes to my head. It's like obscenely insane.
Okay.
So
yeah. Like a full face of makeup is what I'm getting.
Well, I just like don't.
Probably.
I guess like just don't be scared to just be comfortable in yourself. Don't feel like you need to hide it under makeup. Don't feel that you're, it's, I know a lot of girls struggle with like their image when they're younger.
Right.
And what I'm just trying to say is like, don't put so much pressure onto that, because it's temporary. Yeah, if you do all the other things we spoke about today, then it's that you're naturally going to become a really good woman who's going to attract an amazing man. So
yeah. So then also, just to clarify, so do guys not, or men, do they care so much about the physical appearance then?
Yeah. I think the way it works for men is physical and sexual attraction. It's very momentary, immediate, and it grabs our attention. But as a man matures, it's your actions and how you present yourself as a woman that makes you more beautiful.
Mm.
So that question really changes with age and maturity.
Okay. Yeah.
I've got I've got kids who are in high school who are getting their pilot license that I'm mentoring. And I've got friends who are 35 years old and single. They look for very different things in women.
Yeah,
And the
that's true.
answer I give to them is very different. Um,
Hmm.
so it depends what you're looking for. If
Hmm.
you want something temporary and a guy who wants you to see you as that, then go out and do that.
Hmm.
If you want to be a woman of quality, just like if you be a good masculine man, a woman will feel that, a guy's gonna feel and see that, and then you're gonna look even more beautiful in his eyes.
Yeah.
I like to say, it doesn't. A man is a man, a woman is a woman. You guys are compatible sexually, so it's not like this whole idea of, you know, that being a major part of a relationship. It's important, but it's not the make or break all. It's not.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
the problem when you make that a priority over being a good man who's masculine, over being a good
Hmm.
feminine woman, is that physicality wears off very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Um, and the only way you rekindle and keep that spark is by being very masculine and very feminine. And then that's what, causes the attraction at that point.
Yeah.
Um, so,
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah. I know you also did mention for women, there's the sort of a hiding behind makeup. Which I mean for me, I love makeup. It's something fun to play around with personally,
yeah,
but like I feel like I do think that there's a lot of hiding behind and using it almost like a shield for your insecurities. Um, but I think something to overcome that is to not be wearing as much makeup and not having, because I mean, those things are very temporary. Right? The Bible does tell us that beauty and charm are fleeting. They're not here forever. And you'll grow old and wrinkly someday. So yeah, so for women out there, don't care so much about like your physical. Obviously, be nice, take care of yourself, but like it shouldn't be one of your main things to be focusing on. You shouldn't become very vain, what I'm trying to
yeah.
say. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think there's a difference. What I was more referring to was those girls in high school that
Hmm.
are just being introduced to it and have a big social media
Yeah.
influence in their lives. I'm not talking about, obviously you enjoy it, you're a hobby, you're a grown woman. You're doing it on a different level. I'm talking on a very,
Yeah.
kind of basic level. But in
No,
terms
no,
of
I
looking
understand.
good, yeah, but
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
terms of looking good, I go to the gym because I want to
Hmm.
be healthy. And when
Yeah.
I ask my body to do something, I want to be able to do it.
Hmm.
There's a difference between and also be a protector and a provider and be capable. It's never to be attractive for other people.
Hmm.
Um, I like to wear tight shirts because I like how they feel. It's got nothing to do. If you should see my tan lines, they're horrible. I actually never take my shirt off at the gym. Sorry, at the beach.
Yeah.
Like it's got nothing about looking good for other people. It is simply I like to be physical and capable.
Hmm.
And that's a disconnect.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna make.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I had more questions, but I guess we can stop because I don't want to keep you too long.
We
Um,
we we can keep going. I'm more than happy to do two more, whatever you want to do.
no, it's all right. I did have questions. Well, okay, Sarah, you don't have to put this in, but I did watch your America video, the one um
Oh
that you
yeah,
did
the
about
whole
us.
reason we're here, we forgot.
Yeah. I did watch that, which was it was really good. Yeah. But I don't know if I had let me see. Because you did talk
Yeah,
about I guess we can t have two questions. I did have two questions that I can ask there. Is that good?
yeah. Shoot me through what you have, and we'll
Okay.
we'll, we'll sit
So,
down.
okay. So I did have one. You did talk about growing pains, as America is a young country.
Mhm.
Um, and I just wanted to know um, what you were saying by growing pains of the country. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, coming from England, My local pub is 3 times older than America. We have a Roman barracks down the road that is 2,000 years old. We have
Wow.
a castle in our town that is 1,000. Our church is 1,200 years old. There are doorknobs in that church that are older than America. England has had civil wars. It's been divided. It has conquered the world. It has built empires on its back. It has had, I think, like 6 religions go through it. America is so young.
Yeah.
It is also the only system of government to, the great American experiment. It's the first constitutional republic. There's never been tried before in history. Now, remember, the English system was a kingship and then a parliamentarian system for many years. That fell and rose again, fell again, rose again many times. The American system of government has never been tried before. It's very, very young. There are going to be some growing pains. There are going to be things that we need to figure out as a country. I think right now we need a constitutional crisis. We need in America something to say, guys, half the country is doing this. Half the country is interpreting our founding documents as this. What do we do? And I think the answer to that question has to come from the people, not the Supreme Court. We also have, it's really interesting. So nuclear weapons have had a huge part to play in geopolitics because traditionally empires and systems of government would rise and fall because the people would destroy them, the elites would back it, or that through revolution, or wars would be fought and people would be conquered. But nuclear weapons have put a freeze on the map since 1956 when the Soviet Union got nuclear weapons. So what we're seeing is locked borders that cannot change because change means, the destruction of the human race. But we are seeing the social tension of change and wars that should have already been fought. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but it's America's going through growing pains, and it's like locked. It can't move because the world relies on stability. But I think we need a constitutional crisis.
Interesting. Yeah. Although I'm happy that you did mention that this is a constitutional republic because many people who are very involved in politics even always say it's a democracy. And never acknowledge the fact that it's a constitutional republic. So very good.
We sadly operate more like a democracy, which is majority rules.
I know.
But,
Yeah, that's true. And I do have another question from that. Was growing up here in America, I've seen so many other people that have grown up here as well and who are very ungrateful. And that's something that you did mention in your video was that many of us are very ungrateful for living here in America. Why do you think that many of my friends, many people who are older than me, all have this sort of mentality of ungratefulness or a heart that's full of ungratefulness?
You have enslaved the dragon. For use of better terms. You've come into a castle which is completely safe, and the castle is so new and young, you don't have the scars of the past. In London, they still dig up bombs from the Second World War.
Yeah.
In Germany, you've got Auschwitz and Birkenau. In France, you've got the World War I trenches in Normandy. You haven't got the scars of the past. You don't understand the price of what it took to get to this stage of civilization. You've got Wendy's and McDonald's on the freeway, and I think that's what it comes to. When you walk, like in every village in England, there's a World War I memorial. And that's because during the war, many English towns were wiped out during the Great War, World War One.
Yeah.
You don't have that in America. When you walk past a church in England and it's 1,000, 2,000 years old, and you can see that the hand inscriptions on the stone of a worker that was eating his lunch and decided to scribe in. I mean, these are normal things in England. If you go to a train station and, you know, you see what the Industrial Revolution built. In America, everything was always built on top of one another and temporary. In Europe, they keep the past and they build around it. But in America, it's just, I have this house, this here, this is temporary. There's no considerations of the generation before you. Yeah. So that's why I think that I'm grateful, because you there's no understanding. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I will have to say something that we haven't done very well of is preserving our history. And that's something that it is a little sad, because me as a history, I guess, geek, nerd, whatever you want to call
Me
it,
too.
I love history, and it fascinates me ever since a young age. So I will have to say we haven't done very well at preserving what we do have, even as a young nation. And that's something that I would like to see happen more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really good answer. I've never thought of it from that perspective. But that's really good. Yeah.
And you know, the
Okay.
one thing I'll say about America's history is, again, I think it comes from a bubble for some reason.
Okay.
Every country and empire in the world has committed mass atrocities and genocides. America's history is ripe with that too.
Yeah.
But none of the other countries let it define them or hang their laurels on it. It was always, we're here now, the past is the past, let's try to build a future. And America really needs to recognize that. America really has to say, yeah, bad things happened, but guess what? We are not our great, 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 great grandfathers.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a beautiful system. It's a beautiful experiment. Why would you hang up on the past? I mean, it's slavery has always existed. The American people may not like this. The American slave trade is the smallest in history.
Yeah.
There are actually more modern children in sex slavery in the United States right now than any other point in history.
Yeah, it's true.
So don't think that we're free of the, you know, don't think just because we live in the modern age we're automatically moral. It's not the case.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You know, there's a certain thing with people not, I think people today think that they're so morally advanced than the people in the past, but in reality,
Technology blinds.
yes, yeah, and not very true. It's a blindness we have going on in today's world, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, those are pretty much all my questions, so we got through them.
No. Yeah, no, this is awesome. Yeah, do you have anything else for me?
No, I don't think so. I've kept you for long enough, so sorry.
I can talk. Trust me, all my friends know I can talk forever.
Oh no, we won't keep you forever, so it's good. But yeah, no, I think that's all I have. If I do have any more questions, and if it's worthy for another video, I'll definitely contact you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can I end with like a closing note?
Yeah.
So, to that young man or woman listening to this, or whatever age you are, if there's one thing you should take away from what we spoke about, everything, is only you can change your future. You have to go out there and do the work. Remember to have fun, and if you can't laugh at yourself or what you're doing, you're in the wrong place. That's it. Get out there and do it.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Mike, for being with us today. You gave us a great episode, and we're so grateful. And yeah, do you have any socials that you want to call out, or?
Yeah, well, no, thank you so much for your time, ladies. It's been an absolute pleasure. Just my YouTube, Echo Mike, where I post practical skills, mostly outdoor shooting, more military based stuff, and then I also do more talks and discussions like this. And then my Instagram @EchoMike_training, which is the same thing, and then just more day-to-day stuff.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you so much for